What's up, everybody? We're back again. We got Big Mike Rader for Thursday night football. We've got the 49ers minus 3.5 at the Seahawks, over under set at 43 points. A couple injury things to worry about. Deebo Samuel will be out of this game. Kenneth Walker seems to be back at full, health and everything. So hopefully they'll be able to run him a lot. They might need to against this Niners defense. No matter how much success they have, they got to stay balanced if they want to have a chance here against this defense. Brock Purdy is banged up. He's gonna play, but we'll see. We'll see how he does banged up. It is also his first short week as the starter, a road game here, and we're getting over a field goal. Anytime I see primetime home team getting more than a field goal, and the other team's quarterback is one backup, making his first 3-4 starts of his entire career, and he's also banged up. I mean, I gotta love the Seahawks in that situation on the surface. We're gonna dive deeper into this game though. Big Mike, what's up, bro? How you been doing?
I'm good, man. It's been a while, man. I haven't seen you in a minute, seems like, and good to see you again. Let's talk this game. So I'm glad that you have some good things to say on the Seahawks side, because it's like I was like, oh man, I see what I see is I got two scenarios for this game. So the first one is like you got the Seattle rush defense. It's like they're at 100, they're giving up 160 yards per game, which is that's a little ugly,
Yeah, I think that's good for like 31st in the league, right? Though second to
right.
last there. So
It's second to last. And when you see that, you're like, all right, CMC game. McCaffrey's going to go off. He's going to dominate this game. Since Purdy is injured, he can be a game manager. He doesn't have to do much. But in the NFL, it's never that simple, right? We know that that's how it goes on a weekly basis. We're like, okay, bank it in. This guy is going against a terrible defense, and he's going to go off, but not so fast, right? That's usually how it goes in the NFL.
You can look at the Giants Lions game from a couple weeks ago, where Saquon has been on a tear all season, and then it's a perfect matchup seemingly against the Lions defense, who's been near the bottom of the league. And what did he have? He had like 14 carries for 25 yards, and they had to pass the whole second half, so they got away from the run anyways. They were down, but even when they were running in the first half, no success doing it. So I see where you're laying out here, and we have evidence to back that up in the past couple of weeks. Same with Kenneth Walker at one point. Kenneth Walker was firing on all cylinders, and he went up against the Giants, who have a bad rush defense, and he got locked up a little bit. He ended up scoring a touchdown in there, but I think he was at like 50 yards compared to the 140 that he was putting up on teams. Right. So, you're exactly right. Like, you look at that like, oh, shit, CMC, 49ers is just going to feed him. He's going to torch this defense, and it always seems to go a little bit of a different way than that.
Yep, exactly, and that's the way I'm going. I'm going the Seahawks to cover that 3, and I like also over under. I like to go to under just because the 49ers defense. That's just something that they're going to show up on a weekly basis. They're one of the most stingiest defenses in the league, and they're not giving up much. And then the Seahawks they can hold it down for themselves on defense as well. And it's we got the Seahawks who this is their second time playing the 49ers. So, in a divisional matchup in that second time around, it's hard to beat somebody after you blew them out 37-7 that first game. Mm-hmm. So it's I don't see them. I see them avenging that 37-7 loss that they had that earlier in the season, and especially because the 49ers looks like they're going to be one dimensional with no Deebo Samuel and a quarterback who's injured, and it's his second time around. He's got film. Defense has got film on him finally, and I just think that it's just advantage to the Seahawks with this one.
Yeah, and while you're talking about the second time around, I got a bunch of numbers to go through real quick, so I'm gonna give those out. I am on the Seahawks plus 3.5 tonight. I'm taking it at a half unit just because there is obviously a chance that the same exact thing as last weekend happens. Because I took the Bucks personally. I didn't give it out as a pick. I wasn't too confident, but I took the Bucks just to have something on that game, and I thought it was going to be a close game. I took the Bucks at 3.5, and obviously that did not work out. So I'm taking the Seahawks here at 3.5. I might get bit in the ass again. So I'm not super confident. So I'm doing a half unit. I like it at a half unit. It's at minus 115 on points bet. It's also minus 118 on FanDuel. So you're not eating a ton of juice if you don't have points bet there. But yeah, San Francisco has only swept Seattle twice since 2002.
Oh,
so to the point of what you're saying there, right? And only in 2006, out of the two times they've done it, only one of those times, which was in 2006, they won both games by more than 3 points. So even if they do pull off their third sweep, not likely they are able to do it by more than 3. Seemingly, as according to the trends, at least. We never bet just on the trends, but they're always interesting to look at, especially when it's this much history. You know what I mean? We're going deep in that. San Francisco is also on a 4-0 against the spread streak, winning streak in their last 4 games. They haven't had a 5-game winning streak against the spread since 2013. The Seahawks, on the other hand, are 0-4 against the spread in their last 4, and they have not had a 5-game against the spread losing streak since 2003.
Okay.
It's also the first road game, short week game for Purdy, which is a big factor that we have to factor in there. We're talking about him being brand new here and everything. Pete Carroll is 10-3 versus Shanahan as a coach. The Seahawks are 17-4 versus San Francisco, including the playoffs since 2012, and even better, they're 10-1 at home. As long as you can get the 3.5 and get it over a field goal, man, I'm taking this cover. You know what I mean? I'm taking it at a half unit just on the off chance that the Seahawks just lay an egg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the other point I wanted to make here is you mentioned the first time they matched up when the 49ers blew them out. It wasn't really close at all. That was a situation where everybody was super high on the Seahawks. They had just beat the Broncos, and the 49ers had just took an L against I forget who they were playing.
It was
but
the Bears. They played the Bears.
Okay. Me and Chad were all over like both of those games. We saw the Seahawks riding high into that first game against the Niners and laying an egg. And we called it. We had the Niners in that game. And I think I talked about it on Wasted Talent as well with Wasted Talent on Raider Nation. We talked about it that morning right before it happened. And we were all over that. And this is the exact opposite right here, where everybody's flying high on the Niners. Brock Purdy looks amazing. Whoa, magnificent. He's killing the game, but he's a little banged up. The Seahawks, man, they were on fire and then just drove right off the edge of a cliff.
Yep.
It's the perfect game. It's the perfect setup. It makes the exact same sense as what happened the first time around when these two teams met. So yeah, I'm on the Seahawks there. And also, I play into this a little bit. I always look at it. I always consider it. According to Action Network right now, 63% of the tickets are on the 49ers and 37% are on the Seahawks. But 50% of the money is on the Seahawks and 43% is on the 49ers in terms of the actual money being thrown on these tickets. That's an 18% differential there in terms of, I think that the pros are throwing a lot of big money down on the Seahawks. I think we're on the right side in this one.
Yeah, and it almost feels like a gift wrap, early Christmas gift, because it's like, that 3.5. It's like, dude, you got to take the plus 3.5. Field goal. They win by a field goal. You're still getting it, and we know that this game is going to be a close game. It just feels like it's going to be with the Seahawks being at home, short week. Purdy's being, he's injured. They're without offensive firepower. It just feels like this game is almost gift wrapped and kind of given to you like, hey, pick the 3.5, the plus 3.5 for the Seahawks. So
yeah, but that part does scare me a little bit because it's like so many things are lining up and they might just blow them out of the water like the Bucks. That's the reason I'm going a half unit though, because like we started off the show by saying when everything's pointing one direction, the NFL goes the exact opposite way, which we see time and time again. But yeah, so I do like the Seahawks though. That's the best bet here, in my opinion. We got a road team laying over a field goal with a third string Mr. Irrelevant quarterback who is banged up. He's looked good. I'm not trying to take anything away from the kid. You know what I mean? He's looked good. But I think there's some film on him, like you mentioned, and yeah, I don't see him keeping this up. I think the Brock Purdy show is over. Not over necessarily, but I don't think it's happening tonight.
No, not tonight. And I have this whole thought about quarterbacks in their first games. they have no film. They come out there and if you have some sort of arm talent, you're gonna look decent.
Mm-hmm.
But once guys start getting film on you and start seeing tendencies and things like that, like now you gotta prove yourself that you can do that again.
And Pete Carroll is a good coach. It's not like we're
Yeah.
going up against the Broncos with Nathaniel Hackett in his first year also in this situation.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like Pete Carroll is a veteran in this coaching game. He's seen all types of quarterbacks in his career, whether college or NFL. And he'll know how to attack it. I completely agree with you there.
Yeah, it's like all the things are pointing towards the Seahawks to make it at least competitive. So, you got to go Seahawks on this one. I don't see it going any other way in this situation.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with you there. Any player props you want to get into? I got a couple that I'm going to throw out as my official picks. But anything that you're looking at and signaling in on?
Yeah, there's a couple. Of course, you got to go anytime touchdown with McCaffrey and the over 79.5 yards.
What's the juice we're getting there on the touchdown right now?
It's minus 145, but if you stack on with some other stuff.
Horrible. That's not horrible. But yeah, if you stack it up with a couple other, maybe lower yards numbers on FanDuel where you can like kind of ladder it. Yeah, no, I mean, you're not eating a ton of juice there. Like minus 175 is Ramondre Stevenson because we're going to do the Raiders game next. And I was looking at that before we jumped on. But like that's a lot of juice for somebody who's actually shaking up right now. But
right.
CMC, I'm surprised we're not eating that much juice there, minus 140.
Yeah. And then, Lockett Metcalf, the receptions over 5.5 receptions. It's a plus 104 for Lockett and a plus 120 for Metcalf. So flip a coin, basically.
Right. Yep.
There is pretty balanced as far as distribution of the ball, Geno Smith. So, flip a coin with that one over 5.5. I like one of those two to go off for that over the receptions 5.5.
And I'm glad you're going for the value there on receptions. I made a pact to myself. I'm not taking receptions props the rest of the season because I'm just having a bad season with those props for whatever reason. Whenever I try to call it, I'm wrong. And when I stay away from it, when I think it's going to be right, it hits. I'm staying away. In the past years, it's been one of my most successful props, but I'm off it for the rest of this season. We'll revisit that next season. But in this game, it's a perfect game to do it because they don't allow a lot of big plays downfield. This San Francisco defense, we know that they might be getting stuffed on the run as well. The Seahawks will be, potentially. So definitely going to have to lean on Geno Smith a little bit and getting the ball out quick little routes. So, longer, more plays in their drives and everything, obviously more chances for catches. It doesn't necessarily translate to yards. And I think both are around 65 right now. So I was going to stay away from that anyway, just because it could be either or, and I don't see both of them getting that number. So I don't want to pick wrong. I like the receptions prop though. They can both get the receptions prop without the yards.
Yep, absolutely. And that's why I didn't touch yards at all. Here's another one that's pretty good is Kittle on the other side, receptions 3.5. No Debo. You can also go with the same idea as Ayuk with receptions as well. But something tells me that this is a Kittle game as far as receptions go. It's a minus 108. So you stack that with some other stuff. You're good to go with that as well.
Yeah, and his yards isn't bad either. I think that's at like 40 and a half, something like that, around that range.
Yep.
Let me see if it moved at all. Oh, yeah, we're still getting, around 39 and a half you can get on some books on DraftKings and BetMGM. Not even eating a lot of juice, minus 115. You get 40 and a half at minus 110. I don't think that's a bad play at all, but you mentioned Brandon Ayuk. That is also one of my official plays, not receptions, but for the yards. Over 51 and a half. Let me double check. Yeah, we're still getting over 51 and a half at minus 115 on BetMGM. So I got a unit on that as well. He's cashed this in 8 out of 13 games this season. One of the 5 misses was pretty close at 46. So he was right around there. He's also cashed this in 6 out of 8 career games without Deebo Samuel playing. So when Deebo's out, obviously he becomes the number one on the outside there. And he's kind of shown that he can be a number one. He's shown that he has the skills to do it. It's about consistently and consistently getting the looks, which doesn't really happen in this 49ers offense anyway. Even for Deebo, he hasn't been getting a ton of looks lately. But they've been just super balanced, But in this case, with Deebo out, it's Brandon Ayuk on the outside. So I love that there. The Seahawks defense, to put it plainly, they've been shit against the pass, against the run. The 49ers are going to be able to pick and choose here, but it's a divisional game. that 12th man is a real factor. So I'm saying that because what I'm saying here makes it sound like, oh, the 49ers are going to blow right by him because the Seahawks can't stop anything.
Yeah.
That's true, but divisional games, they never work out that way, especially the second time around, which we talked about earlier.
And the game gets a little bit tougher when you get in the red zone. So Purdy being a new quarterback, maybe he could get down the field, but hammering the ball in and finishing a drive might be a challenge for him.
Yeah,
game.
exactly.
So,
and I have a play that makes sense towards that too coming up later too. So I'm glad you mentioned that also. But yeah, to finish up Ayuk here, I just think with Debo out, man, I like Ayuk to take charge. A huge opportunity for him to just show that he can be that guy, even with a backup, banged up quarterback on the road. Like, it's just a good game, a good spot for him to take advantage of. He did have, I think, what do you have, like 70 yards last time they played the Seahawks? I don't have the exact number, but he hit this number when they played the Seahawks last time with Debo in the game.
Yeah.
He's had at least, or not he's had, but the Seahawks have had at least 2 receivers hit 52 plus against them in 10 out of 13 games this season.
Wow.
So I'm not even worried about if Kittle gets 90 yards. I think Ayuk can still get 53. You know what I mean? I mean, it's happened time after time again in this season for them. And one of those 3 misses in terms of 2 receivers doing it, one got it in that game. The other did not. The other was at like 40. But I think Ayuk might be the leading receiver anyway. But I threw that out there because that shows how bad they've been. The other 2 were games quarterbacked by John Walford and Sam Darnold in recent weeks. So I'm not too worried about those either. I think Ayuk will be able to get that done.
So you mentioned Kittle possibly going over. You got Ayuk possibly going over. So I see Brock Purdy, his over under for yards is 216.5. Do you like the over on that one? I mean, you can also throw in CMC kind of getting receptions as well, the backfield and some dink and dunk type of stuff. So
yeah, I mean, it seems very possible. My only concern with it, and the only reason I would consider, one of the 3, maybe not taking Ayuk, Kittle, and McCaffrey for the receiving yards, all 3 could hit. But if all 3 hit, he's pretty close to hitting this quarterback number.
Right.
The problem is, how healthy is he? If he gets rocked, is he coming out the game? Like that's my concern there. It's a low number. I think if he plays the whole game, he probably hits it. But that's an if that I don't know if I'm willing to take a risk on. Obviously, it's a risk no matter what play we're picking. But he's already banged up coming in. So and it's a short week, banged up coming in.
Yeah, that's one that I'm not willing to sweat over for sure. That's,
exactly.
I wouldn't even go under or over on that one. I'm not willing to sweat over that.
Yeah, I'm definitely not taking the under. If he plays the whole game, it probably will hit. I like them to target Ayuk. The Seahawks they've been struggling to outside receivers. So
yeah. First touchdown. I mean,
let's do it.
I got CMC plus 275, and then I like Kittle. I just think it's going to be one of those kind of games for him. A plus 850 for first touchdown. Kind of settle that crowd down and slow down the game like I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring affair or anything like that. And the 49ers come out, late in the first or something, or even early in the second and get that first score for Kittle to kind of just quiet that crowd. I can see that.
Yeah, I can see it too.
On the other side, you got Kenneth Walker, plus 625, just a hammer and a 1 or 2 yard, up the middle, up the gut kind of deal. And then DK Metcalf is a plus 675. And you can flip a coin. DK Lockett it's the same thing.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. You think Lockett's getting 7 in 7 weeks? I think he's on a 6-game streak, isn't he?
Yeah. You know what? You might want to ride that hot hand. I mean,
yeah, but it's like, there's 2 sides to that coin because it's like, do we ride that hot hand or is it like DK's turn? Like, is DK in the locker room like, yo, Gino, get me one, bro? Tyler's eating over here. Like. Right. We don't know what's going on in terms of that. And, Pete Carroll, he's a player's coach too, from everything we've heard over the years, where, he might be looking like, looking at the offensive coordinator, like, scheme 1 for DK. Tyler's eating lately. We got to keep DK involved. I'm just saying it could happen. He could get 7 though. There's 2 sides to that coin. So,
yeah, it's, and then it could be, they defensively, they probably see something where it's like, okay, you're putting too much emphasis on DK, so we're gonna go Lockett. I don't know if
Yeah,
people are kind of forgetting about Lockett as a star receiver. I mean, I wouldn't even say he's a star, but he can hold his own as a
yeah,
receiver in this league. And everybody's putting the crown on DK as if he's a star receiver. So it's
yeah,
almost like, hey, do you want to get burnt by DK? Emphasize, putting defense on him and bracketing him, and then kind of leaving a one-on-one type of deal with Lockett. That's probably what's happening a lot in this kind of situation. So
yeah.
if that continues, then yeah, you got Lockett for another touchdown, 7 in a row. So
I agree with those points. Those are good points. That's probably why it's been happening the past couple of weeks. I will argue, just to play devil's advocate, though, this 49ers defense is good enough to be able to slow down and stop both of them. So
yeah,
it might be a sleeper guy. It might be like a Marquise Goodwin or like a Noah Fant type of day.
yeah,
I'm just throwing it out there, not as an official pick, but just while we're having the conversation. I do
yeah.
agree with those points, though. That's exactly what's happening, it seems.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I got for both ends for first touchdown. Maybe even anytime touchdown for any of these guys too. So that's something to consider as well.
Yeah, I actually didn't even look at the odds for any of the first touchdowns because I had you on the show for this one. So I was just
Yeah.
going to roll with what you're picking. So I like Christian McCaffrey and I like George Kittle. Out of those two, who's your pick? Because that's what I'm going to tail with this risk free on BetMGM.
Man, I'm going with the value. I'm going for
Let's do it.
Kittle plus 850. I don't know what you have on your end, but I saw it on Caesars. It was plus 850. So you might get it.
I have to I'm doing the risk free one from
Okay.
BetMGM. So I have to roll with whatever number they're given,
Okay.
which will be plus 1200 actually.
Whew.
So that's even better. So I like the fact that we have to go there. If you're not actually plus 1200 is the best on the board. But if you don't have BetMGM, DraftKings is also plus 1200. If you don't have any of those, FanDuel is plus 1100, and then Caesars plus 850. So you definitely don't want to go Caesars if you have access to other books there. But yeah, we're gonna roll with that. I know Mike said it, but that's an official pick from me now. I'm tailing that one. That's for our risk free. If you don't have the risk free, man, do what you please with this first touchdown stuff, because it is definitely a risk. It's a risk I'm willing to take for a 2-for-1 every time, though. We do have another free. So we did this on Monday night while we're on the topic of first touchdowns. We did this Monday night, and it did not hit. So we had Ramondre Stevenson. It ended up being the backup Patriots running back that got the first touchdown because Stevenson was out. But I am going to use that free $25 bet that expires today, and we're going to use that on Juwan Jennings anytime touchdown at plus 260.
Oh yeah, I like that too.
$25 wins you 65.
Yeah,
on the free because it's a free bet.
You know what I like about that is that in the preseason, you have these backup quarterbacks. They get a good rhythm with those backup receivers.
Mm-hmm.
So they go out there and in a game that actually counts for something. They have continuity. They have like that rhythm that you would have between a quarterback one and a wide receiver one.
Yep, and he's wide receiver 2 tonight. With Debo out. So
yeah, and in the preseason you would see that a lot. You would see the quarterback 2 or 3 having good rhythm with a wide receiver 4 or 5. You see that all the time in the preseason. That's why you'll see a game. You're like, oh man, so and so went off. This quarterback's pretty good, and then he still sits on the bench. That's because he has that continuity with those backup receivers. So I like it.
Exactly.
I like it. He has that rhythm with the guys that he's been doing a lot of reps with. Even in practice and during the offseason. That I like that. I like that call.
I'm glad you like it. Let's go. I'm all in on that. $25 risk free. I mean, if you don't have that bet, if you weren't with us Monday night, or if you used yours already, or whatever the case is, I would recommend maybe like a half unit play on it on Juwan Jennings anytime touchdown.
Why not?
But yeah, I wouldn't risk like a whole unit on it because it is a little bit of a flyer at plus 260. I think you could get better odds elsewhere, so shop around a little bit. But I had the free bet on BetMGM, so I'm using their number. One more play that I had in here, actually 2 more plays I have in here. Jason Myers for over 1.5 field goals at plus 115 on BetMGM. I'm going to put 1 unit on that as well. He's cashed this in 8 out of 12 games this season. The Seahawks struggle in the red zone when it comes to scoring touchdowns. They're 23rd in the league there. The 49ers are 11th in red zone touchdown percentage defensively. I think the Seahawks will probably have a couple good sustained drives, but they might stall out a little bit near the red zone in a few of those. Near or in the red zone, I like Jason Myers to hit this. Myers is the number 1 kicker in the league in terms of percentage. that he's kicking at. So if he gets 2 chances, I like him to nail 2 chances. So I think he's going to catch this. So I put a unit on that. The other play kind of falls in similar line with that. And I forget what you said to make me say I have a play that aligns with that, but maybe you can remind me if you remember. But I'm also going to play this FanDuel special here. Each team to score 1 touchdown and 1 field goal in each half today at plus 2,100 on FanDuel. I'm going to put a quarter of a unit on that, and 0.25 units wins 5.25 units, 5.25. If that cashes, it is a little bit of a risky play. That's why I'm only going with a quarter unit. But I forget what you said that made me say that. But I do think it's going to be a field goal game where some of these drives might stall out. Oh, it was when you were talking about Brock Purdy.
Red zone.
That drive might stall out. Yep. Exactly.
So yeah,
and I like both teams to score a touchdown for sure in each half. Like I could definitely see that for sure. The field goals is the one where we might have to sweat it out to like the 2-minute warning of halftime, and hopefully we get it. So
it's worth the sweat though, because
it's worth a quarter unit sweat. Yeah,
definitely. And it's these young quarterbacks that come in on their second game, they can probably still get the ball down the field, but it's hard to score in the red zone. Mm-hmm. It's hard. Even the best of the quarterbacks in the league have trouble trying to score in the red zone half the time. So, a guy like Brock Purdy, like you got to go with the idea that he's going to struggle trying to get the ball in the end zone in the red zone. So.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I'm also going to do a same game parlay, but I'm going to drop that on Twitter at the new Moo Sports Twitter. That is at MOO_sports. The link will be in the description box if you want to just click right over to follow. I'm going to drop the same game parlay there because usually FanDuel does a risk-free, but they have not offered me anything yet, at least personally on my account. I don't know if other people are getting it. I'm going to wait it out just a little bit longer before I lock anything in and see if I get the risk-free one. If I get the risk-free, I'll take that. But if not, we've risked, personally for me, I've risked 2.75 units on the plays that I just mentioned. So if need be, I will risk that extra quarter unit to make it a 3-unit game here on that same game parlay. But I'm hoping they offer the risk-free or something. I don't know if maybe my app is just glitching out, but I didn't have anything there, so I didn't start building it yet. I'm going to wait it out a little bit, but follow us on Twitter, and I will send that pick out for sure. Mike, anything else you wanted to add for this game?
No, that's about it, man.
Yeah, other than that, check out our early lines episode where me and Chad talked about a few of the games this week, and me and Mike are going to be back for the Raiders game as well. Raiders-Patriots, that game's at pick. Fair warning, we have no idea how to call it, but we're going to try to find some gems in these player props because that I think the books have that price correctly with the pick 'em there.
Yep, absolutely. We'll do our best on that one.
Yeah, we'll entertain you guys somehow. Don't worry. Even if the game itself won't entertain you, we'll figure out a way. Yep. But yeah, other than that, happy betting tonight, guys, and we'll see you on Twitter later with that same game parlay. Let's cash out today, baby. Peace.